The beginning of humankind's involvement with metalworking may be traced back to the Bronze Age, a point in time when stone implements and weaponry were almost immediately succeeded by bronze ones. But what else did we achieve in that era, and why is it significant in history? Let's explore this in today's video. It's possible that the ancient Sumerians who lived in what is now the Middle East were the first people to enter the Bronze Age. During the Bronze Age, humans accomplished a number of significant technological advancements, including the development of the first writing systems and the invention of the wheel. The Bronze Age spanned roughly from 3300 to 1200 BC in portions of Asia and the Middle East, and it came to an abrupt end with the near-simultaneous collapse of several significant Bronze Age civilizations. In the Fertile Crescent, a region of the Middle East, sometimes referred to as the cradle of civilization, and a historical area of the region where agriculture and the world's earliest cities emerged, it is possible that humans began smelting copper as early as 6000 BC. As already explained, it is very much possible that the ancient Sumerians were the first civilization to start making bronze by combining copper and tin. Bronze was a superior metal to copper for the manufacture of tools and weapons due to its higher hardness and greater durability. According to the findings of archaeological digs, the transition from copper to bronze occurred approximately 3,300 years ago. The Stone Age, which was a period of time in prehistoric history, characterized by the use of stone tools and weaponry, came to an end with the discovery of bronze. However, there was not one single point in time at which all human societies entered the Bronze Age. The Bronze Age began significantly later in China and the British Isles, approximately in 1900 BC and 1600 BC, respectively, than it did in Greece. Bronze was first used in Greece before 3000 BC. The emergence of large-scale societies unified under a centralized government by a great ruler is one of the defining characteristics of the Bronze Age. States or kingdoms, the form of governments that existed during the Bronze Age, engaged in a variety of interactions with one another, including trade, conflict, migration, and the exchange of ideas. Kingdoms such as Sumer and Babylonia, both located in Mesopotamia, and Athens, which was located in ancient Greece, were both prominent during the Bronze Age. This continued until around 1200 BC, when humans began to create iron, the metal even stronger than bronze. This marked the end of the Bronze Age. However, the human civilizations that emerged during the Bronze Age can never be forgotten. A few great examples of this are: Number 1. Sumer. By the 4th millennium BC, the Sumerians had founded over a dozen city-states throughout ancient Mesopotamia. Two of these city-states, Eridu and Uruk, were located in what is now the southern part of Iraq. The Sumerians referred to themselves as the Sag-Giga, which means the ones with black heads. They were one of the earliest civilizations to use bronze. They were also the first people to use levees and canals for the sake of irrigation. The Sumerians are credited with developing one of the oldest types of writing known as cuneiform letters. They also constructed gigantic ziggurats, which are stepped pyramid temples. Art and literature were highly valued by the Sumerians. The Epic of Gilgamesh is a poem that has 3,000 lines and tells the story of the adventures of a Sumerian king named Gilgamesh. Number 2. Babylonia. Babylonia rose to prominence in the Bronze Age around 1900 BC in what is now the country of Iraq. Its capital, the city of Babylon, was first occupied by people known as the Amorites. King Hammurabi of the Amorites is credited with writing one of the earliest and most comprehensive written legal codes in the history of the world. Babylon surpassed the Sumerian city of Ur as the most powerful city in the region as a direct result of the implementation of the Hammurabi Code. Number 3. Assyria. Assyria was a great political and military power in ancient Mesopotamia, and its name comes from the old name of the country. At its height, the Assyrian Empire encompassed a territory that reached all the way from the region that is now Iraq in the east to Turkey in the west and Egypt in the south. The Assyrians engaged in regular conflict with the pharaohs of ancient Egypt and the Hittite Empire, which was located in what is now Turkey. The ancient city of Assur, which was the first capital of the Kingdom of Assyria and is now located on the west bank of the Tigris River in what is now Iraq, gave the country its name. Number 4. China. During the Shang dynasty from 1600 to 1046 BC and the Zhou dynasty, which lasted during 770 and 476 BC in China, the Yellow River served as a focal point for the development of Bronze Age civilizations. Casting in piece molds was employed to create bronze chariots, weapons, and containers rather than the lost wax method that was utilized by other Bronze Age nations. This meant that a model of the intended thing had to be created first, and then it had to be covered in a clay mold. After that, the clay mold would be sectioned off into pieces that would later be refired to form a single mold. Number 5. Greece. During the Bronze Age, Greece developed as a pivotal center of commerce and culture in the Mediterranean in around 3200 BC. The Cycladic civilization was an early Bronze Age culture that emerged on the Cyclades Islands in the Aegean Sea, which are located southeast of the Greek mainland. A civilization known as the Minoans began to flourish on the island of Crete a few hundred years later. It is generally agreed that the Minoans were the first advanced civilization to emerge in Europe. The Minoans were merchants who traded goods such as lumber, olive oil, wine, and dye with neighboring countries such as Egypt, Syria, Cyprus, and the mainland of Greece. They brought in various raw commodities and metals, including copper, tin, ivory, and valuable stones, among other things. Around 1600 BC, the Mycenaean civilization emerged on the Greek mainland, and their culture flourished during the Late Bronze Age. Mycenaean civilization was centered on the city of Mycenae, Thebes, Sparta, and Athens. Mycenae is mentioned in a good number of Greek myths. According to Greek mythology, the city of Mycenae was established by Perseus, a hero of Greece who was responsible for Medusa's beheading. In Homer's Iliad, the Mycenaean king Agamemnon led an invasion of Troy during the Trojan War. However, there are no historical records of a Mycenaean monarch by that name. In reality, there was no Trojan War. Around 1200 BC, the Bronze Age suddenly came to an end in the Mediterranean region, which included the Middle East, North Africa, and Europe. Many historians are of the opinion that the changeover was rapid, violent, and culturally disruptive, even though they do not know for certain what precipitated the collapse of the Bronze Age. Major Bronze Age civilizations, including Mycenaean Greece, the Hittite Empire in Turkey, and ancient Egypt, fell within a short period of time. Ancient cities were abandoned, trade routes were lost, and literacy declined throughout the region. Scholars believe a combination of natural catastrophes may have brought down several Bronze Age empires. Archaeological evidence suggests a succession of severe droughts in the eastern Mediterranean region over a 150-year period from 1250 to 1100 BC, likely figured prominently in the collapse. Earthquakes, famine, socio-political unrest, and invasion by nomadic tribes may also have played a role. This brings us to the end of this video. If you like the video, please consider subscribing and sharing so we can keep bringing more content like this. Also, let us know your thoughts in the comments below. See you next time.